Sounds familiar.
4.
Yeah.
4, right? I think we can. Okay, good evening. It is April 20th, and it is 5:16. This is our regularly scheduled County Commissioners meeting for Androscoggin County. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Commissioner Ames will be absent this evening, and we'll hold off on Commissioner Michaels to see if he comes in. Okay. Accept and approve with waiver of the reading of the minutes for the April 6th meeting.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept and approve with a waiver of reading of the minutes of the meeting dated April 6th, 2022.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mason makes the second. Any questions, comments, or changes you would like to see made to the minutes?
I'd just like to make a comment. The only thing reflected in the minutes is the motion and the vote. Do we expect any other details in those minutes?
We haven't too much up till now, but they're the commission meeting minutes, so you're certainly welcome to make suggestions if you'd like to see changes to it.
Not at this time.
Okay. You want to discuss it at another time, though?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be appropriate.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? And that is 5-0.
Review and approve all bills, part-time deputy payroll.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve all manual payroll warrants, 2217, 2218, 2219, 2220, 2221, 2222, 2232J, 2233J, 2234J, and 2235J.
Mr. Post, I'm not sure. The counter isn't, can you tell? I've never turned this thing on before, and now it's playing back. Neither of my guys are here who run this, so I'm going to just give this to you. Okay, was that Commissioner Mason that
Yes,
made the
ma'am.
motion?
That was me.
And Commissioner Kelly. Okay. Any questions, comments about the bills, payroll, or warrants? Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0. County Commissioners Association.
I believe there was one. I haven't spoken with Commissioner Michael as to his participation. I was not able to participate in that.
So we'll have a delayed report on that. I think most of you probably got to your email from Maine County Commissioners with concern about jail funding, but I heard coming in that passed.
I didn't have a chance.
Into that, or Sheriff, do you know if that passed? Is jail funding all set now? I thought I heard on the radio coming here that
They're working through the appropriations table right now. They only have one day to do it. So there's hundreds of bills on the appropriations table. That's one of them. So they have to apply funding to it. We'll see what happens tonight.
okay, so we're still not,
It's not finished yet.
okay, all right. Central Maine Workforce Board, Commissioner Kelly.
Nothing current at this time, other than the acting executive director has resigned, so they're in the process of selecting someone new. Have anything new, I'll inform the board at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report.
I'll try to make this quick. I know we've got a lot of people waiting here. The opera quarterly report is due next week, so I'll be starting that tomorrow. It's a bear. It's going to take me probably all until next week. Compliance audit is still ongoing. I expect to have a draft of the financial audit by sometime next week. That's what they're promising me. Just a couple things when you get down, and you talk about opera. I mentioned last time, we have a compliance audit for opera, that's $3,000, that's on the list. The sheriff building, that the buyer's obligation was not included for $38,000 and some change. And also, I had asked permission to use some of the grant assistant dollars that was approved to pay my staff, for my salary, so I can pay my staff overtime. Right now, they're getting a lot of comp time because I can't afford to pay them overtime, and I really need to pay them overtime. They're putting in a lot of hours. We got some large projects going on, so. Also, probate renovation, I had to move that down to revenue loss out of the main grant. There's a couple parts of the project that don't quite fit in the regular grant, so I moved that down to revenue loss, which actually frees up a little bit more in the regular grant. You should have in front of you an updated ARPA list and a Word document that I quoted from the final rule where it fits. That's not for discussion really tonight, it's so you had time to look at it. I just wanted to mention that you have that. And the only other thing I have is the financial report, and everything is on target for budget. Revenues are under, which is typical for this time of year, except for deeds fees, real estate tax fees, and probate fees are all ahead of budget, which is a good thing. That makes us happy. Other than that, there's really not much to talk about. We have not borrowed from the TAN as of this report. And everything looks good.
Do you feel like your overtime issue in your department will even out once you're able to hire that person to help?
Once our projects are done, it will also help once the software is online. That will gain us a lot of efficiencies as well. And the new person definitely, once we can find someone, I've had one applicant, she didn't show up, so.
Questions for the treasurer?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just one observation.
Yep.
Under the jail, prisoner prescriptions was over quite a bit. And then you did make a comment that overall the jail is within budget. But I saw the total was already 70% spent. Is that related to the fiscal end of year?
Yes, yeah, because they have a different fiscal year. They end in June.
In June?
Yep.
Is it possible to add those dates on the super heading of the spreadsheet? So that-
Sure, I can
So that I'll
figure
know
something
by
out. Yep.
looking at it when the fiscal year ends for county and
Sure.
when it ends for jail.
Yep, I can mention
I
that.
appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, a motion to accept treasurer's report?
So move forward.
Second. Kelly.
All in favor? It's 5-0. Administrator's report.
Okay, my administrator's report this time is going to be shorter than the treasurer's report. I have been working on ARPA applications and questions and so on, some of which you'll hear tonight. I had a department head meeting last week. I have instructed them to start their budget, and we're working on budget calendars for when budget things are due. Of course, the first thing they're going to do is their capital improvements and so on. And we'll have that calendar for you probably the next meeting. I've been working on, and hopefully I'll meet with Jeff tomorrow and finish up the medical RFP for the jail for the next 3 years. And then finally, as you know, I have given commissioners my resignation effective June 3rd. So I just want to thank you all for all of the support you've given.
Ask Commissioner Kelly to read the commissioner's response to the resignation.
The Androscoggin County Commissioners would like to thank Larry Post for his years of service to our county. As Androscoggin's first county administrator, he took on the hard work of transitioning the county to a charter form of government and setting up the administrator's office. As its inaugural holder, he will be remembered as a trailblazer with a long list of accomplishments and accolades. Mr. Post aptly led employees and the board through uncharted waters and through the daily business of governing one of Maine's most populous counties for 7 years. At the biweekly commissioners' meetings, no matter what was entailed in his administrator's report, he would close by letting commissioners know that life is good in Androscoggin County. His closing line is something we can all agree with, regardless of our individual politics. As he leaves Androscoggin County, we wish Mr. Post the very best in his future endeavors and thank him for his steadfast service, whether it be chasing his passion of fishing in a quiet stream or the challenge of a new position elsewhere. We are confident that for Mr. Post, life will be good.
I did send this to Mr. Post to review before we read it this evening, and Mr. Sherlock, who's probably online, had a copy also today. And Mr. Post has asked that we make one change, and that is from fishing to canoeing. So duly noted. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that over the next month and put some plans together. Okay.
Do we need a motion to accept the resignation, or is
If you'd like to, we could do that. Yes, I don't know if we do or not, but it probably wouldn't hurt.
all right, I move we accept with regret Post's resignation.
Certainly.
Second.
And I can't say all those in favor. I don't know how to word this. All this that are respectful of his wishes to. Okay, 5-0. Okay, thank you. Comments from the public. And if you're here to speak on an ARPA issue, we'll give you your own slot. You don't have to take this spot, but is there anyone that is not on the agenda and you would like to say something? Okay, great. Anybody online, Dave, that we need to wait for? Okay. All right, we're going to start with our ARPA presentations. And is there someone here from the town of Minot? Come right on up. I didn't grab your names ahead of time, so go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, my name is Danielle Loring, and I'm the town administrator for the town of Minot. And I'm here with Colleen Quint, she's the chair of our broadband committee. So we're here tonight to request ARPA funds to continue broadband expansion for the town of Minot. This would allow us to create a reliable broadband infrastructure, as it's been an ongoing conversation for the town since 2017. And continues to be a principal need for the residents and business owners alike in the area, which was highlighted by the most recent pandemic and how critical the need was. And the board has taken efforts to, address and recognize that need by, actually acknowledging through a resolution that, broadband is not just a leisurely item anymore. It should be seen as a necessary utility. So in that fashion, they've then taken the necessary steps to kind of set the town up in the best position to take advantage of opportunities. And those include commissioning a feasibility study to see what options are available and to see where the needs are within the town. They've discussed the potential for internet service providers to come in and work with us to help to fill those gaps. And we've become involved in discussions with other local communities who are also looking to get broadband for their residents to see whether or not we can form a partnership and then kind of combine our efforts. So far, some of those efforts have worked out and some haven't. So, but they brought us to where we are today. We've successfully negotiated with First Light in order to create a fiber to the home base for the northwestern portion of town. And they are actually in the process of constructing and getting that infrastructure ready, and will hopefully be launched by this summer. And then we're working on an agreement with Spectrum right now that would fill in some of the remaining gaps to allow for, if this project was successful, to have Minot be 100% covered to all of its businesses and residents in the town. So this project would cost the town around, cost the town, its portion is $338,000, and $150 of that we're going to utilize the town's ARPA funds, and then the remaining balance of $188,000 is where we come to you folks and request that we utilize the county's funds in order to fill that gap. So just to point out, we are aware that there are other funding opportunities available for the town, and we've actually tried to take advantage of those, including Connect Me. We had worked with GWI, that grant was unsuccessful given the low score that we received with that one. And then we tried to utilize those funds with the First Light project, but it didn't work out that way, so the town utilized its own funding in order to make that project work. But what it is that we're trying to accomplish is very fragmented, so it's like completing the last mile of a road, some back roads, some connector roads, and then given Minot's rural character, we just don't score as well because we don't meet those density requirements that give you a higher score when you're doing grant applications. So really so this is kind of like what brings us to you folks, is because we feel as though it fits with the character of what the ARPA funds were intended to do, which is to create, a connected web so that everybody can have broadband and utilize it for education, telehealth, their business opportunities to work from home or to expand their own customer-fronted business. So that's where I am, and especially where the ARPA funds is also redefined broadband as 100 over 100 is symmetrical. We are now having to compete with people who are looking to upgrade their services to fiber, whereas us as a community, we're just looking to get everybody 100% connected. So again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak and come see you folks and make this request. And I'm actually going to turn the table over to Colleen because she's a resident and she can actually speak to the need.
Thanks, Danielle. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Colleen Quick. I live in the town of Minot, and I'm the chair of the Broadband Commission. And I'm one of the folks who is currently unserved, or actually true, I now, courtesy of Elon Musk, whatever you might think of him and his politics and his business practices, I now have a Starlink service to the house. But where our particular road is, the Hatfield Road in Minot, we have Spectrum service at one end of the road and at the other end of the road, but not on my road that connects the two of them together. And that's not a unique experience within the town. So I think Danielle gave a great overview of the situation and the need in the town of Minot. I think everybody has a full appreciation, particularly, I don't know if we're post-pandemic yet, but particularly after a couple of years of this, understanding how critical it is to have that kind of connectivity, whether for education, for telehealth, for telecommuting, for running a business, all those kinds of things. The town of Minot is like a lot of Maine families, where basically you cobble things together to make them work. And the request that we're coming to the county commissioners with is essentially the final piece of the puzzle for us to get full coverage throughout the town. So we've worked with our own funds, we've worked with multiple providers. We can't get a single provider to cover the town because of the way they're all coming in different places. The maps kind of make it dizzy to look at with all the different colors and roads and routes and whatnot. But this piece, approved by the commissioners, really would be that final piece in the puzzle, because Spectrum is working on the engineering build-out to cover the remaining part of the town, and we just need the funds to help us complete that project. And the only other thing I just wanted to say is that this kind of project of supporting broadband in the community is really one of the core areas of focus and intention of the federal ARPA funding, right? So it's an infrastructure project, it's a one-time investment that will have a lasting benefit. And really, sometimes those infrastructure projects benefit an entire community. This would benefit the final piece of the community that's not currently served. So the entire community then would have access to that infrastructure. So we know there's a lot of requests in front of you, you have big decisions to make, and we certainly understand and appreciate that. But we hope you'll give this every consideration. It would make a really big difference to the folks in the town, and make sure that Androscoggin County is a good place to be. So, thank you very much.
Remember from when I've been at your town meetings, this has been a project before ARPA funds even came down the high. It's not like ARPA funds came and you looked for,
Yeah,
how can we spend some money? Yeah. No, you've been working on this a long time.
Absolutely, yep, so we've been looking to, as I said, I think our efforts with GWI actually started as the shutdown was going. So,
Yeah, it's been several years.
yeah, so I said, I knew that, because what we originally tried to do was in 2017, we were actually trying to utilize the cable franchise agreement to kind of use that as a launching pad, because if you're gonna install cable in someone's house, they're gonna have access to the internet as well, so that was like our first starting point. Then, the new PEG streaming requirements came in and kind of killed that off, and then for a while, so we are going to reopen some of those discussions so that way we can, you know, work to make sure that in the future, if, you know, a road's built or extended, that we can meet those requirements and continue to keep people connected, but yeah, no, it's since at least 2017, and because I started with the town in 2018. That was like one of the first residents who came in my office was, hey, I need internet. So,
Was Commissioner Florid made a comment about, it's sort of like years ago when people were trying to get electricity to their house. Nowadays, was that your comment? Am I giving you credit for something you didn't say? Was that my dream?
It's a good comment.
Yeah.
If it's good, I'll take it.
Okay, it was good. Yeah, it was a good analogy.
One question.
Yes, go right ahead.
Jim, what was your result with Connectivity Maine? What transpired there that they weren't
our
forthcoming?
first grant application due to density requirements,
density?
we didn't score well with that one. With First Light, we were successful with that, but there were some contracting issues that we couldn't quite iron out with between First Light and Connectivity due to some kind of like stipulations of the grant funding, and but we were able to make the project work as overall, because the town was able to transition to local funding in order to make that work.
Questions? I'm not trying to micromanage you. Did I send you the information? We had a presentation from Spectrum. I just wanted to make sure that made its way to you.
Yes.
I meant to
think so.
package that up, send it to you, okay?
Thank you, that was very helpful.
Anyone else? And thanks for coming. And next is Franco Center, and we have Elaine, and I'm not going to get caught, Roop. She was trying to throw me off before. Denise, Penny, and Mike Joy. Go right ahead.
You've got quite a trio in front of you. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. I'm just going to give you just a really little brief scenario. I'm sure you have all of these packets in front of you, which, in case you are not familiar with the Franco Center, you're missing out. Okay? And for those of you that haven't been to the Franco Center recently, again, you're missing out. But I'm not here for that this evening. Preserving our history, okay, and honoring our history, that's a tough road. That is a tough road. I say that because this building started to be built in 1907. It was finally opened in 1920. Suffice to say, as you're all familiar, as we move along in the future, old buildings need help. They need a lot of help. And right now, we find ourselves in the midst of a rebirth because of what is happening on the riverfront. We have Chinburg Enterprise right across the street from us that is rehabbing that Continental Mill. We have LA Museum that is going to be building a brand-new building on that side of the river front. I don't have to tell you what it's like when you come into a community that looks like it's dormant, like nothing is going on. That doesn't incite you to bring in people, to bring in new people into the area, new businesses. The Twin Cities and the surrounding communities have been working so hard to establish a growth pattern, and they've done a great job. They have honored a lot of requests. And it's been requests that you should not have to say, well, why are they here? Why are they here asking? Why not? Why not? Who are we servicing? We're servicing our communities. We're making them better. We're providing a service. So with that being said, and that train of thought going forward, yes, indeed, we are here this evening in hopes to get your support. We've received support from the City of Lewiston, much needed emergency funding, because quite frankly, if you go by the Franco Center right now, the back side of it looks like it has a girdle on it to hold it up because of the buttresses. We have started construction on that. But the thing of it is why it's so important to get the cities involved, and especially the county. When we go to apply for grants, if all of you show that you have interest and faith, it makes it that much easier for us to gain entrance into getting monies from other grants, which we are now presently working on. So before I go much further, and I could expound, and I'm not going to do that until you start stretching and yawning. Been there, done it, not gonna do it to you. I have a team with me, Michael LaJoy, who is also VP of our board, and he is in charge of our building rehab, a daunting volunteer job, I might add. We have Denise Scammon, who is our marketing and development person. She is a given, just a given. And then, last but not least, our own personal unicorn, and that is Penny. And Penny serves as our financial officer / administrator. Chief cook and bottle washer is what she is. So, rather than taking up time, I'm gonna send you directly to the people that you might have questions of. If you have questions on the building, Mike's your guy. If you have questions on grants and development, Denise is your person. If you have questions on the finances, Penny is your gal. And speaking of finances, we have been in operation since 2000. Not once have we not paid our bills. We have always been on time. We have never, ever been delinquent in our responsibilities. So I thank you for listening to me tonight. And what do? I'm just a piece of fluff that hangs out at the center. So if you have any questions, please feel free. Mike, Denise, Penny, any questions from them at all? Seeing this? Question number one.
probably for Denise.
There you go. Come on, Denise.
I see that you have requests in for the senators, the Congress people. Are those the earmark program?
They call them CDS now,
Okay.
yes.
And so, the request of 3.7 mil is addressed to all three of them, I assume?
Yes, that's what we were told to do.
Okay. And so that's fairly recent then.
Yes.
How about the foundations? The 175, is that, how recent is it? And is it one foundation or?
It's 5 different ones, and one of them had a deadline of April 15th with an expected decision 60 days out. So we have other foundations that we will also apply for with deadlines extending to May 15th, and again, decisions further out than that. So we've already been in front of Lewiston twice. And when I wrote here that we've asked Lewiston for 400,000 more, we've actually asked them for 400,000 more for each of the next 4 years. The Androscoggin County Commissioners were asking for 500,000 because when we write grants, some of them, so for example, Senator King wanted to know why the Franco Center was important to Maine. And of course, we do service a lot of people in Androscoggin County itself. I think it's 110,000 population. So we have 15,000 visitors in a good year before the pandemic at the center. And some of those visitors, they are drawn from Androscoggin County, some are tourists.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you know what the center's all about. We've been doing this for 22 years. That answer your question?
It does. And my last question would be, with the city of Auburn, what's the status on that? You were asking 250 grand. What's the status on that?
So I have been in contact with Phil Crowell, and it was yesterday that I asked him what the status was. And the mayor reconvening an ad hoc committee, which we will then approach with our request for 250,000.
That's it. That's all I have.
Those are good questions. Anyone else?
Just a quick
Go
question.
right ahead, yes.
So the project itself is like a lot of stuff. So it's not just like you're gonna fix the building, you're gonna buy some properties, you're gonna do all kinds of things.
Simple, like specific things, but for example, when we're working on the buttresses, the contractor told us that it makes sense to repair the granite facade in between the buttresses while the staging's up, because that staging scaffolding is very expensive to rent. So it's not distinct phases, they'll overlap, so we are projecting a 5-year span of these projects going on, with the most urgent ones first. And you're all welcome to come see the building.
Can I just add, in response to your question, it is a lot of different projects that we're doing at the same time. And you mentioned the buildings. We do need to buy buildings because right now we use the Continental Mills parking.
Right.
And eventually, once he has that rehabbed, we are not going to have parking.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some public lots around, but until we have a clear sight line to our building, it'll just make people feel better about walking
Sure.
down through there.
Absolutely.
And then through the pandemic, we realized we really need to get an air circulating system and AC upstairs, which we don't have. And that will help us to then use the building more often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember there's no air conditioning
Yeah,
upstairs.
no, so
Then,
up in
yeah.
the summer, we can't, in order to make the building, the whole organization more feasible all the time, is you have to fill it as much as you can.
Sure.
So the air quality is gonna be a big,
Okay, yeah, I just wanted I didn't know if there was like a priority or if this is just for the whole package.
We used to have it prioritize, but like I said, things were shifting, so we couldn't say, okay, in phase one, we're gonna do this, because phase one was gonna be the gutters downspouts, and phase two was gonna be the buttresses.
But those became more urgent, jump to the top.
Because, yeah, a stone fell out the other night.
Joy's up there swinging a hammer on granite, I'm all in. So,
Going to have to respond to that.
Could I just add a few things? Yeah. I'm Michael LaJoy, VP on the board. I'm also responsible for the building. And as the commissioner here knows, as well as you, sir, the amount of work that is needed in an old building is quite extensive at times. So what the story is at the moment, and the priority right now would be the buttresses and the facade, as well as the exterior windows, where they have a specialized plastic storm window, if you will. And that also has the ability to diffuse the sun rays, so it does not bleach the glass inside, the colored glass inside, stained glass. And like Denise mentioned, which as I started into this project, we were told by a previous contractor that a certain price per buttress. And come to find out, our new contractor that we are dealing with also is the primary contractor for the Diocese of Portland. So he understands churches and construction extremely well. I'm very happy that we have him. So as Denise mentioned, when we were talking about a buttress, he stated that not looking at the facade at the same time, when they work on the buttress, they have to go to the end of the buttress to the facade. And at times, they have to remove some of those stones to mesh the buttress into it. And then, once that's done and they repoint it, they put a special solution on the outside wall that protects the stone, the granite, from the elements. And that lasts about 5 years. And then it should be redone again. So when I found that out, I asked them for pricing with regards as to that type of package, and that's where those expenses come in. You mentioned if there was priorities. Well, the outside actually and the buttresses are the major priorities at this time. Therefore, as soon we do have funding from the city of Lewiston right now that would cover most of those buttresses. The worst ones, we'll say, as well as the facade. After that, whatever monies that we can come in from there, the continuation of the outside would be the primary item to take care of. I don't want to spend too long. With that, the cause of the situation was the gutters. And the gutters, what transpired there is because they were so old, they're made out of copper, they are lined with tar. However, over a period of time, they started leaking. And they started leaking inside the walls. And so what transpired there is it came in through the windows at times, and water finds different ways, different paths to come out. So some of the interior walls, we've repaired a lot of them, but we still have some. So that would probably be the second priority that would come in after the outside. And then, of course, the rest of the stuff would come in, like the air circulation upstairs, so that we can utilize the hall up there, not the hall, but the performance area up there in the summertime, which is it's a great place to be. And so if we have the air circulation system and the air condition, that would be the other priority that would come into the picture. Then after that, of course, we would go to other secondary priorities that we would have. As you may look at the chart, you may see, and you may see that some of them may be interchanged. And as the opportunity comes about. So we'll say like the security system, we could more than likely fit that in at the same time as we do the outside. And so that's about it as far as the building and the cost. My estimation on the cost for a complete package would be between $5 and $7 million. And a lot of that is due to the latest trend where everything is so expensive. And talking to the contractor, the health has been very slim. And on top of that, his product lines have told him that there would be delays. So therefore, that may even delay our project a little bit. But they are due to start in the middle of June. So,
I think you guys do an awesome job over there, so it's been a fun project to watch over the decades, for sure.
very good. Thank you. Any other questions from me?
This might be in your handout somewhere, but could you explain to me, is your color coding your priorities, or does that have to do with different contractors?
Basically, that's a
or-
list of items that we put together. And
Yeah,
in
like
a sense,
the-
you do have priorities, which would be the top.
The yellow to the blue, is that,
Yeah.
is that a distinguishing?
That one. So what you would have there, at the beginning, would be the gutters and downspouts. So, like I explained to you, the reasoning we have a problem is because of the gutters and downspouts. So the first thing to do is to repair and or replace those. And that comes from the contractor. And then after that. would be
Colors,
the
maybe they
boxes
don't,
and
maybe
so
they're
on.
not.
Oh, that's okay. There's no color. I'm fine.
The color coding is just so that they group, so, and I ran out of colors, so. The first two yellow ones, so that would be like exterior, the most,
Okay.
and it doesn't have to do with
It
priority.
doesn't have to do
but
with
we tried
priorities,
to
okay.
Justify priority.
I thought you were trying to impress me.
the things that go together.
That explains it, thank you. That, yes, I just, if that was a priority, or if that was by contractor, I was just trying to figure out what the colors, the different colors
Mike
were.
had me move things around all day today on this list, and so I said,
Put colors
okay,
in it.
I'm gonna move.
So I'm not going to worry about the colors.
But the way it's itemized on there, from top to bottom, basically you're starting at the priorities on top and working your way down.
Okay, oh, thank you.
Anything
Yes.
else?
One more last thing, Mr. LaJoy, Mike, I know you well. The downstairs, that's air conditioned at this point? But not the upstairs?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. And what is a second floor lobby? Oh, that's in the back,
That's in, well, actually, it's the front of the church. When you
Right.
walk in,
yeah.
you have that lobby area. And what we did is we wanted to define the cost for both of them separately, seeing if we could afford one more than the other. So basically, the performance hall would be the priority, and the lobby would be secondary. Because people are sitting there watching
It'd be ideal to do
whatever
them both at the
is
same time,
happening.
but if we don't have funding.
So the total for that is 188,000?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. That's very good to know. Thank you.
Set? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't believe I see, thanks, Danielle, I'll call you in the morning. I don't see anyone here from Historical, oh, I'm sorry, yes, there you are.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address you. I feel I've been in this building for so many hours. This is, I think, the first time I've ever been in this room. We're the Androscoggin Historical Society. I'm David Chittim. I am a resident of Lewiston, and I have the great pleasure of serving on the board of directors. I've been serving on that board for 10 years now. And for the past 5 years, the AHS, as we know it, has been looking for a new home. We are sad to be leaving the county building. We feel that this has been our home for 86 years. But we find that in order to realize our vision of reaching out to the community and improving our public access, we needed to have a new facility. Additionally, as Mr. Cody knows, we have run out of room. The third floor will not expand anymore to accept any more of our tens of thousands of artifacts, our library, our archives, and our research facilities. So about 5 years ago, we began looking for a new home. We looked high and low, we looked at various options, we looked at renting, we looked at building, we looked at buying. And quite serendipitously, we discovered 93 Lisbon Street in Lewiston, the former offices of Murphy and Coyne, was not on the market, and we discovered that they were leaving it and were putting it on the market. So we reacted very opportunistically, and our board, being a flexible, able board, recognized the opportunity, and we jumped, and we purchased the building. We are, as I speak, in the process of moving all of our assets from the third floor of the county building to 93 Lisbon Street. The reasons for this, as I've explained, are to improve our community outreach, to make ourselves more available to the community, to enhance the opportunities that people in Androscoggin County have to avail themselves of our research facility and our museum. One of the setbacks that has occurred has been obviously this pandemic. We started this planning process and evaluating our opportunities about 5 years ago. And 2 years ago, we were all of a sudden shut down. In fact, thanks to Mr. Post's largesse, we were able to squeak by with 2 months where the building was closed completely. That effectively shut down our operations. We have not yet resumed our lecture series, which we had conducted monthly up until COVID. So COVID has had a dramatic impact on us. As I said, we're sorry to be leaving this building. It has been home to us, and as I have spent many, many hours up on the third floor, this is my first opportunity to be here in this room. I invite your questions. You have information in your packet which explains to you our budget. Listening to the Franco Center's budget, I'm glad that ours is quite a bit less ambitious. It allows us, however, to purchase the building and begin the programming that I've mentioned earlier. Before I close, I'd like to invite each and every one of you who has any desire to look at our new home. You're obviously welcome to the third floor at any time, and if you would like to see 93 in its present state before we move in or as we move in, please let me know, and I'd be happy to arrange a tour for you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Go right ahead.
Yes.
Mr. Port.
Is the building paid for or not paid for at this point? I guess I'm trying to understand.
The owners have received the sale price. We have arranged financing with our investment bank. And, the problem now is to figure out how to pay the bank back. Our budget historically, now I'm the treasurer of the organization, and I'm known locally as being the skinflint treasurer. Our budget, our annual budget has averaged about $20,000 for the past 8 years. We are now looking at a very ambitious budget. We're looking at hiring, for example, a part-time executive director to help us in this transition. Part of the money that is being requested in that budget is to help us transition into an executive director position. So did that answer your question?
Yes, as far as the building,
Okay.
but you're saying the executive person on this page is showing his or her wages?
Well, that would be, yeah, we were planning to transition into that $45,000 the first year, $30,000 the second year, and $15,000 the third year. That gives us the opportunity to gear up our own fundraising efforts, which we're not used to. I mean, living on a $20,000 a year budget, the demands on our fundraising efforts were minimal. We relied very much on donations and our membership dues. We can no longer do that, which is one of the reasons that I'm here before you, before the Lewiston City Council, and before various foundations that are offering
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
A quick one.
Go right, no, take your time.
The, on your debt service for the loan, what's the percentage rate that you're,
That's started at 3.25, it's now 3.50.
Really?
The Fed has been jacking up the interest rates, and we have a floating interest payments only note for the first year of the loan to purchase the building.
well, that's smart, actually. Okay. I enjoy those monthly, speakers that you come in, and I miss that. I really do miss that. And
We do too, and we can't wait to start them up again. We have just actually established our schedule for the Night House. We will be participating in all the art walks on Lisbon Street, and as you may or may not know, we, about 2 or 3 years ago, acquired the West Auburn Schoolhouse. So there is a program scheduled for programs of activities there as well. Those will be posted on our website as soon as we can get our IT guy to give us a little attention. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I don't know what COSI stands for, so if you want to come forward and start out by telling us what your letters stand for, I should have inquired before the meeting.
Hi, yes. So my name is Carrie Morissette, and I am the Executive Director of the Church of Safe Injection, which is a
Thank you.
501c3 nonprofit state-certified syringe service program. And this is Maggie LaJoy. She is our grant writer, fundraiser, and a board member. So just as a brief overview, the Church of Safe Injection, and don't get thrown by the name, we are not a safe injection site. We don't allow people to use drugs in our space. We are a state-certified public health organization. We are new to the Lewiston area. We just opened our first physical location after being certified in July of 2021 at 195 Main Street in Lewiston. In February of 2022, and since opening our doors, we have taken 75,000 used syringes off the streets of Lewiston and Auburn. We serve as a place for people that do use substances to have a safe, clean supply, and also be able to dispose of their used supply so that there's not litter in the streets. We also work for referrals to treatment, scholarships into sober living to help people with their substance use issues. And we work alongside a lot of community organizations to host STD clinic days, HIV testing days, PrEP clinics for preventative HIV, and we do wound care. So we are coming here tonight because since opening the exchange, we have seen and we just opened in February. We have served 654 people in the towns of Lewiston and Auburn. And we entered a building with other harm reduction and recovery organizations in the hopes that because we are an organization that accepts people where they are at in life, whether they are actively using or contemplating recovery. We are in the same building as the Recovery Center and Recovery Connections of Maine in the hopes that they will feel comfortable enough with us to let us know that they are ready for recovery, and we can, connect them with the Recovery Center and refer them upstairs to IOP. We currently have community collaborations with Maine Family Planning and for safe sex and HIV and STD testings, but we do not have the confidential space to do that. Last year, there was 636 overdose deaths in the state of Maine, and that is just from overdoses. there is a very heightened risk of spreading infectious disease for people that use IV drugs. And our organization has the values and purposes of safely disposing of drugs, hypodermic apparatuses, and trying to lower the number of infectious disease spread in these towns that we serve. Excuse me. So we are asking for $50,000 because we have a conjoining space in our exchange that needs some renovations to be done. We are currently working with some medical professionals, Dr. Kenneth Akar from Maine Med in Portland, in the hopes of soon being able to offer telehealth wound care to unhoused community members, and also would be able to host more clinic and COVID vaccine days and testing days, but we don't have the confidential space to do it, so we're asking for the renovation funds so that we can provide this space, so that we can get testing done, so that we can have telehealth wound care done, in the hopes of, you know, at the end of the day, saving the city less money for having to have ambulances come out, having to have people that are suffering from abscesses in the emergency room, and just being able to provide a public health service more adequately. And Maggie is more informative than I am. I hate public speaking. So.
You did a beautiful job.
Yeah, I think all the data shows that basically emergency room visits and policing of like areas where drug users are like kind of in a high population or high concentration is, I would say, like at the very least 40% more expensive than it would be to just be able to kind of like meet people's demands and make sure that we are avoiding like really significant health care emergencies. So we know that this is a significant, like this is a slight upfront cost, but it's a significant reduction in overall expenditures for the state and also for the town, I would say. And the second point, so like I think there are twofold really important benefits. The first is monitoring. So unfortunately, I mean, right, like while we do like acknowledge that the police are helpful in this way, I think it's really hard to monitor people who are using drugs when we are only catching them and not really like talking to them about use or like figuring that out. So we have a unique benefit of just being able to monitor people a lot better and monitor a really vulnerable population that's otherwise kind of going off the record, right? People are either using and being monitored or they're using and not being monitored. And we have like a no punishment, non-punitive system of being able to monitor people who are using drugs, and we are able to report that to the CDC, which is really important information. And the second is just like privacy. So privacy is unbelievably important, and like we've seen several studies that show that providing privacy increases the likelihood of accurate self-reporting and just reporting in general of people who are using. So we feel that having a new center, or sorry, not a new center, a private space for people to come in and access our services is really justified. It has, like in a cost-benefit analysis, it just makes sense from every perspective. So, yeah.
Questions?
I also just want to add real quick that while we are focused mainly on lowering the spread of infectious disease and keeping used syringes off the street while keeping people safe from overdose by doing like naloxone trainings and naloxone distribution, we are also collaborating with other community partners to make sure that, you know, not only people that are like directly using, but like everybody that's like indirectly could have a loved one or works in a field where, you know, people could be using substances, to be like aware and educated and trained on how to like reverse overdose and have the supply to do that in case of an emergency. Our organization, and I have one support letter here, which I didn't print out enough because I got it like last minute and had to run to the office. In this winter, we worked with Jody Hayashida, who is the minister at the First Universalist Church, to collaborate the opening of the warming center at the church and have everybody properly trained on naloxone and make sure that there was nalox boxes and, you know, and obviously naloxone in case anybody would overdose to reverse that. And we try to focus on not only like the public health standpoint, but also the education standpoint. So we take a very big stand on trying to connect with as many community organizations, businesses, community members as possible for educational purposes and trainings. Public speaking.
No, you're doing, I don't know why, you're doing
That was like
fine.
one
No, you're doing, yeah. Are you, where's your present funding coming from?
So as of currently, so last fiscal year, so for state certified SSPs, it's from July to July. Last year, we received $50,000 in our first certified year from the Maine CDC. And then we received many small private grants. We received $7,500 from the Comer Foundation, $7,500 from the Maine Communities Foundation. And then we raised about $15,000 in private donations and fundraising events. We did just receive our allocation letter for this next coming fiscal year, starting in July, and they have almost tripled our funding to $120,000. And we are currently awaiting results of 5 different grants that we've applied for.
So your main financing comes from the CDC?
Yeah, I would say.
Good, thank you. Go ahead.
Do you guys work with the Options Public Health Campaign?
They have come in to view our space, but Options is more associated with the recovery standpoint, and does work closely with the other organizations in our building that we, as a whole, are all together in part.
This is like kind of separate to this, but everything that you described just basically is an RFP that they just put out, like last month, that my firm was actually gonna apply for, but we opted not to. Like, I think you should reach out again, because it very much lines up with the naloxone mission and all of that stuff. Every county has a director, so might be a place for you to get into.
Appreciate it, we didn't even know about that grant opportunity, so.
Yeah, not necessarily grants, but they can help you maybe shift some costs.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not paying for it, but there's already state money set aside to do some work that you can help with.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Go right ahead.
What's IOP?
Intensive outpatient services.
Oh, okay, all right.
So as,
We have for people with jobs.
yeah, so the main focus on creating all these harm reduction and recovery organization is in one building was very intentional because we are a syringe service program, like I said, that accepts people when they're actively using. We build relationships with these people when they're at their lowest and support them just because they're human and they deserve respect and dignity. So we tend to be their first point of contact when they're contemplating recovery or contemplating going to treatment or contemplating detox or what have you. So the main mission of the overall building, which is slowly but surely coming together, but not quite yet, is they would make contact with us, that we have these relationships with them. We could call over to the rest center, get a recovery coach sent over to help support them in their decision while we call up to Recovery Connections of Maine to get them in to see a psychiatric nurse practitioner or provider in case they were interested in medication-assisted treatment or Suboxone, and enroll them in intensive outpatient, which is every day, 5 hours a day, either in person or via Zoom, which comes with group therapy and regular therapy, and then scholarship them into a recovery residence.
Okay. Now, you said you were established in February. I'm assuming February 2021?
So our organization has actually been around since September of 2018. I have been the executive director since March of 2020. I think that I can be transparent in the fact that our organization did not have a great meeting with the city of Lewiston back in 2018 with the previous executive director, because it was an uncertified syringe exchange that was operating uncertified and was very frowned upon. Since I took over, we focused our efforts on becoming certified and doing it the right way, because we can't provide accessible resources if we're not supposed to be doing it at all.
So that was the person out of this trunk of their car?
Jesse.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Well, that's, I gotta give him credit, though. It's a gutsy move, and
Yes.
your work, if I can use the term, makes this community look a lot prettier.
Yeah.
Definitely, but when you said 75,000 syringes since 2018? No?
Since February of 2022.
Since February of 2022, wow.
Wow.
Anybody else
There are a lot
doing?
more drug users than the state has accounted for in their like official numbers. Like the state thinks that only about 2,000 people intravenously use drugs. And our data from Lewiston just like proves that is.
Only been open here since February 1st of 2022. Actually, Police Chief St. Pierre came for our opening day. And 75,000 used syringes off the street, and we've seen 654 people.
And how many reversals? 400, we've had over 470
Overdose
reversals. So 470 people did not die.
Anybody else doing the syringe exchange thing?
There is one other syringe exchange in this county. It's Tri-County Mental Health, which is in another part of the city that is not very accessible. Not that they're doing a great job and they do what we do. We just have prime location to where people are using substances and are in a reasonable distance for them to access our services. But yeah.
Location. Well, you've done a good job. Public speaking, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This has certainly been educational for us,
It's a
us
sensitive
old people up
subject.
here.
It's a hot topic.
Wow. Thank you very much. We also have one additional group. I know it's not on your list, but I'm assuming you'll have no objections to the Literary Foundation. Is that the?
Literacy volunteers.
Literacy Volunteers, and it's Talia and Judy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's on here.
I have to say that Literacy Volunteers, I have always said since I've been on the board, is about the best kept secret in Lewiston, Auburn. We are literacy volunteers in Muskegon. Talia is going to speak to you, but I just wanted to introduce her and say a few things. Our mission, as you can see at the top, is to provide free one-on-one tutoring and other educational services to help adults and families acquire basic reading, writing, math, and life skills. And I can just tell you, as a tutor, I have seen so many smiles from people that we have assisted in either getting their driver's license by helping them read, getting to be a citizen of the United States. And I have to tell you, I tutored this wonderful little lady who is a wonderful cook and is learning to speak English, and we've been so apart since COVID, but she was a great cook. And learning for her to learn what a cup is and a tablespoon, and then eat what she cooked was absolutely fabulous. So basically, what I want to say is, if we weren't here tonight, or we couldn't be here tonight if we couldn't read. And that's what the basis of this whole world is about, is reading. And Literacy Volunteers, and Talia's going to give you the numbers, has just been an amazing board for me to be serving on. We're working with the Lewiston Auburn Chamber of Commerce, and they have Strength in LA. You may have heard about that.
but they are going to be, it's about 30 businesses. We're one of them and assisting them with tutoring, where people call them and say they want a job, and they match people up with those jobs. And they're just starting with this, and it's a great opportunity for us. So just in quick closing here, I only met one person, because our tutoring is totally confidential, that admitted that he could not read. And it came out one day when he was reading a book, and his son said to him, when his dad was 30 years old, he said, "Dad, what's the book about?" And he told him, and he said, "Dad, I'm calling you out on that because I know you can't read." And he admitted it. And he went to Literacy Volunteers, he learned to read, and I'm sharing his name because he unfortunately passed in January, and some of you in this room may know who he was, but Ed Bushy from the Bangor area, he drove for then John Baldacci as our congressman, and was all over the state of Maine, and advocated for Literacy Volunteers in a huge way. There are 13 of our agencies within the state of Maine. And with the Androscoggin County, we serve it in a great way. And I just ask us all to say, reading is the only way that we get ahead. And we have some good things to say about what we've done. So here's Talia.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity, for sneaking us on the agenda last minute, and I promise that I will be brief. I'll give you the nickel tour, how about that? Literacy Volunteers Androscoggin is an affiliate of a national organization that used to be called Literacy Volunteers of America, way back in the 60s, and now is Pro-Literacy America. But we are our own 501c3, and we are responsible for raising all of our own funds. In fact, we pay them money. But we do tie in with that level of expertise for our training, for the materials we use, and so forth. We've been serving Androscoggin County since 1974, and I started with this organization. I was the first paid staff person back in 1996. So I've been with the agency for 26 years. And somebody mentioned the term chief cook and bottle washer, and I think that probably fits me very well as well. I'm the only full-time paid staff person for the organization. So I do program as well as running the agency, everything that an executive director does, and a program coordinator. And I have a half-time executive assistant. And from there, we have volunteers that assist us with a variety of things. But the critical thing that we do is that we recruit and we train people from the community, and they make a commitment to work one-on-one with an adult on their education. And basically, pre-COVID, we were working with about 175 adults per year. And we were managing about 100 to 110 volunteers per year, and generating between 10 and 11,000 hours of volunteer service to the community. So it's a value of about $300,000 to $330,000 that we generate on a budget of between $65,000 and $75,000. So we're very bare bones in terms of the money we spend, but I like to say that we're small, but we're mighty. Because what we are is the opportunity for individuals that need to work on their education to get out of poverty. They need to work on their education because maybe they're a diabetic and they can't read their medications, they can't maintain their health very well because they can't read things that they're getting there. And for a lot of people that I see currently, everybody knows there are a lot of jobs out there. But if your English isn't great or your reading and writing skills aren't great, you're probably getting an entry-level job and you're cobbling together 2 or 3 different jobs in order to pay the bills, and you're still not making a whole lot of money. I can tell you that last year we worked with people from 44 different countries, including the United States, and currently about 70% of our students are from other countries. And really what we're seeing is we're getting, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, we're seeing a lot of people from other countries that they come with college degrees, you know, they're highly skilled, they have experience, and what they really need is the opportunity to work on their English so that they can connect with a professional job that lines up with what they bring for skills and experience. And you guys know, Maine employers really need this. I really love my state, and I'm hoping these people will stay and work here and live here. And you know, I'm pleased to say that we are a part of their experience and we give them the opportunity to get where they need to go in order to connect with those professional jobs. And I just want to give you a really specific example. We have a woman who was an RN in her home country for 10 years. She came to this country. And when I met her, she was picking eggs at DaCosta, and she was working part-time at Walmart. And her husband was picking up odd jobs wherever he could get them in order to pay the bills. They had a 2-year-old daughter. And she had enough English that she could get by relatively well. But she wanted to take a phlebotomy certification course because she could use her nursing experience to help her pass that course. And one of the things that makes us really unique is that we have this really wonderful pool of talent in our volunteers. And I'm very careful when I match a student with a volunteer. So for this woman, I just happened to have a volunteer who had been working in labs for 40 years. And she actually ended up with 2 volunteers. She had that woman to help her pass the phlebotomy course. And then she had another volunteer to help her with her English speaking skills and to help her develop resumes and stuff like that as she worked towards getting a job, help her improve her English reading and writing skills. And between the 2 of them, this woman passed her course, she got her certification, and she got a lab job, full-time with benefits, locally. And over the years, she's continued to meet with her tutor. Last year, she became an American citizen. And she and her husband last year bought a house in Lewiston. So literally transformed her life. I mean, she worked very hard to accomplish that, but she couldn't go to traditional classes because she had to work to support her family. You know, she was working those entry-level jobs because she had to make a living, and we really were the only option for her. Because we're one-on-one, we have flexibility, and we have the ability to provide them with the kind of assistance that they need depending on their specific needs. So the reason we're here tonight is because COVID has really had an impact on our bottom line. And past 2 years we've done PPP, we did a Maine Economic Recovery Grant, and we've made it through. But this year there's no PPP. And what's happened is that one of our major funders is the Androscoggin United Way. And I'm sure you guys are aware, they raise their money through payroll deduction. And so they've really been struggling with their campaigns for the last couple of years. So our allocation, which represented about 40% of our budget, has been cut by 25% since 2000. That doesn't account for any of the other, like our annual fundraiser that's in person and the revenues that have gone down from that. And I have outlined that in my little short paper that I put together for you. But this is a critical service. We're the only service of its kind in Androscoggin County. And we have, because of the pandemic, we used to be all in person, we've added very successfully virtual services as well to our toolbox. And so, you know, we feel that it's really important. that we stay solid. We've been through a lot, and here we are, and we're still doing a great job, and we're rebuilding. And what we are asking for is to cover 10 hours per week of my position, chief cook and bottle washer. And also, we have added something, we got a digital literacy grant, and we hired a young man who is helping tutors and students with technology-focused issues, which, I mean, I think virtual is here to stay. I think the bulk of our services will still be in person, but the virtual is definitely going to be an option, and some people prefer that. And especially for people living in the rural areas, it may be a better option for them than coming into the Lewiston-Auburn area to work with a tutor. So basically, we're just asking for an additional leg up to cover some of his hours for to assist tutors and students with technical issues, technology issues, and to maintain some of the lending laptops that we have to lend out to students who need them, and to help cover some of my hours next year. Questions?
Questions? Go ahead, sure.
I can't help it. Maybe you should have Mighty Mouse as your mascot.
Yeah, I think that's.
You say you're small but mighty. I guess it didn't go over very well. You have to explain your own.
No, I love my house. I really love my house.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
So, just a couple things. What will happen in year 2, 3, 4, 5 for this funds you're looking for?
I don't think it's going to be an issue. Things have shifted with some of the grants that we were getting on a regular basis due to the pandemic, but things are starting to level off a little bit. And there are some new pockets of money that are starting to emerge for adult literacy, I think, because people have been concerned that we need to be out there because what we do is so critical.
Okay, so I'm assuming that people who are looking for instruction on English as a second language already can read, right? Correct? And you don't deal with those, or what?
Okay, so.
Where's the overlap, or is there one?
There's a huge range from people that.
As quickly as possible.
Okay, all right. So, yes, we work with people from other countries that need to learn to read and write in English. Most of them are literate in their own languages. Some of them are not, but the vast majority are. And so the transition is a little easier if you've already been to school. And we also help with English conversation and even can do that separately for individuals.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I know you're tired, but
No,
appreciate it.
no.
Madam Chair, I can take 2 minutes to go to the.
Well, let's just take a break for 2 minutes before we move on to the other. A couple minutes.
Oh,
You go. I don't blame you. I think we
You don't have to go to
understand.
work
Thank
in
you
the
for
morning.
being here as long as you were. Yeah.
Oh. Don waiting outside for you?
No, he has to go to another meeting.
He just got assigned to some big position,
Commander of
did
the
he?
American Legion.
Did you know that? Yeah. Just recently.
Friday.
He would have hung around, I was gonna recognize him, but I was racking my brain, what is it? I know it's something special.
That's awesome, though.
Brady, I'm gonna head out. If I miss anything important, let me know.
I will,
Thank you. I think everything's signed, Sally.
okay. Just a minute to sign everything.
Technically, we can. Oh, the summer. I think that 5 o'clock was 4 o'clock. Sally. Is it 5 or 4?
It depends on what it is. There are some things that takes a quorum of the entire council, like to add something to the agenda.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you very much. To add something to the agenda, I think it takes the quorum of the entire board. And plus, where we don't have anything from the attorney, I'm not sure where it fits in.
I wanted to talk about the job description. Today's job market, and I wanted to ask you, because I know the town of Lisbon's been looking for an administrator. Yeah. And I'll be honest about it, I want to pump you. Yeah. I want to pump you in executive session. Yeah, yeah. I don't want you to talk about it.
They're doing in Lisbon?
But it's Lisbon, so I know more than I probably should, so.
Know what's going on, yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I'm looking is, trying to hire somebody, we need to move fast.
Wow. Or interim, so that we don't have to move fast.
Don't worry about it. The dogs
And then we'd have,
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'd like to have just a workshop where we could just get around the table and read it out. But if they had that form ahead of time, that would,
exactly.
yeah.
So then we can
Oh, I
say,
like
oh,
that a
what's
lot.
common here,
Yeah,
and what's
yeah,
not common.
yeah, I like that idea a lot. Okay, let's go back into session. And for the ARPA decisions, I guess there's just a couple of housekeeping items I want to just take up here, and then we'll get a plan for going forward. One is $38,551, which would have been closing costs and legal fees to finish up the purchase of the Center Street Sheriff's Office.
Thought we voted on this last time.
Shows up on our chart as not being voted on yet.
Not vote on it.
Okay.
I mentioned it, but I didn't get voted on.
Okay, but we did talk about
We'll
it.
talk about it.
Okay, because I was gonna say, the
Yeah.
number being so unique, I kind of remember.
Amount out of air, is that right? 838,551?
21 cents.
All right, you tried to shortchange us.
I know.
Those would be called closing costs, or?
Buyer obligations, and I have a copy of what they are if anybody wants it.
Yeah, I would be interested, yeah.
So how are we booking the rental incomes that we're now getting from the properties?
Thank you.
But we will be booking it towards the building as a revenue.
So when did we buy the building?
March 20-something. If you,
So we're getting rent after the fact?
no, we agreed
then I'm
to use the
confused.
property management company that was doing it already. Part of the fees you'll see there is we had the lawyer representing us at closing go over the contract and make changes to it. The management company agreed to the changes, and basically, I don't understand the prorated part because you were looking at a couple of days, but money's money. So I don't know what that figure ended up being. But how it works is they usually require a $1,500 deposit from the county to open up an account for incidentals, like things that might need repair, broken. We agreed that they would take the $1,500 out of the first month's rent to establish the account for the property management company. The property management company generally collects rent, obviously, the first of the month. We'll receive the payment by the third or fourth week of the month. Him and I mailed the contract back and forth, signed, and he just confirmed today or yesterday that we were good to go with everything. So I expect the county through Clarice, he's got Clarice's and Hillary's contact information, and mine and Billy's. Mine and Billy's for emergency type stuff, Clarice and Hillary for financial type stuff. Clarice has been given all copies of the contract and the leases to have on file. Rent was raised $100 per each tenant. One tenant wasn't paying their water sewer before, the prior owner was. We've switched that. We covered lawn mowing and plowing, but we should receive a payment by the end of the month, and I believe Clarice's intent is to establish an account, not only for the deposit, but the expenses that we'll have with the property. Because we've put the security system back in the 774 Center Street property. The fire alarm system is there. We're waiting to hook up to the internet. Looking to use the same provider the county's using. The lights are on, the utilities, gas is on. We got the projected, how much it cost the former owner and what they're projecting will be for us at minimal use. Currently, the only thing we've used the building for, other than to hand down furniture to county offices, and we have other things we'll probably deliver to nonprofits, is we've let, ironically, Auburn Fire Department use it for training. And we have things scheduled next week to reprogram all the radios in our cruisers. The garage will be helpful there, as well as the ballistic vest we got in the next, in the last year's budget. We're doing all the fittings there. So we got like 3 days next week. We're looking at getting rid of things in there that we won't need to clean it up, to maybe allow nonprofits or committees to use it for meeting, which obviously we'll supervise until we can make use of the building. So, but as far as the revenue, we should get the checks by the end of the month, I think it was, the third or fourth week, so this week or next week.
Could we have, you went over a lot of information there, and I'll be honest about it.
That's okay.
I prefer to have it in writing, because I guess I didn't know that we were hiring a company to manage the property. I don't think we discussed that in.
Yeah, I think we did.
Because we didn't want to be, even though we were the landlord, we
Okay,
wanted
maybe
to
I
have
missed
an
that meeting.
outside company actually
11%
manage
cost of the
them.
revenue. So for 11%, he handles the buildings. It was, I think you might not have been here, but
Yeah,
I
it's possible.
said, do you guys want to continue with the same property management company? At the time, it was a 10% charge to the farmer owner. They were due for an increase, and it was 11% that he came back with. At the same time, the rents were increased to all the units, so it's higher than was originally projected. And then whoever was at that meeting at that time agreed that a property management company would be the way to go. And since this guy has been managing it since it was owned by the former owner, and he had a good recommendation, we figured we'd leave everything at a standstill, because they're all occupied and have tenants in them.
I don't like to approve things after the fact. I'd like to know what's in the pipeline, what's going on. So let's make sure that I can do that.
Sure, I
Contracts and stuff like that, the amount of contracts, who's authorized to negotiate all these different contracts?
Well, I came to the commissioners and I said, would you like the property management company to continue on? And the commissioners at that meeting agreed to do it, so I let him know that we'd prefer to leave him stay on.
Okay, so we said that without knowing any detail.
I think you knew the basics of the 10%. The only add-on was he'd be plowing and mowing the
I
lawns.
must have missed that meeting. Yeah, I wasn't here.
It was I will admit, it was a brief conversation because we all agreed nobody wanted to be a landlord.
I don't remember that, that's the problem. I don't know. The other thing is acronyms like, I may have missed it when you talk, TMBF is what?
What you have here is two different things.
Yeah, I don't know what TMBF is either.
She gave you closing costs. He spoke about the rental agreement, at least. I don't believe any of the numbers that.
No, the numbers in the closing costs, I can just tell you, we use the
Nothing
attorney
to do
quite a
with the
bit.
closing cost
Do you
statement.
know what, Clarice, do you know what it's
If
saying?
you show me where it is, I can probably figure
The
it out.
TMBF, it would be who they used for the incoming wire fee. For the wire fee.
That's Trafton, Mattson, Bello, and Fernet.
Oh, so that's legal.
Told you I could fill it out.
Yeah, great.
Oh, and FA tick?
Where is it? Or are you looking at it? Owners
Uh,
of-
Androscoggin Title Insurance Corporation? No?
FATIC?
They had Trafton, Mattson, no, they had Skelton, Taylor, and Abbott.
Yeah, that's one of the title insurance companies, and I don't deal with residential, so I'm not familiar with the commercial, the names of the different
I
commercial
think what you're
title
seeing is any
insurance.
acronym is going to be the legal, like STA for legal services and costs. STA's got to be a business name. Oh,
Insurance costs, that's a one-time.
Why do we need title insurance?
What it does is it,
A free and clear title?
it is, but you still have title insurance, so if anything shows up 10 years from now, title insurance will cover the cost that it'll make you whole. It's a one-time pay, and it'll follow the life of your ownership of the building.
Only your ownership, not the next. And you paid the attorney to give you a clear title. And after the clear title from the attorney, you then buy an insurance to assure yourself that the attorney knew what he or she was doing for you.
That's right.
Sorry to say it that way, but that is.
That's pretty accurate.
Was this a quick
I
claim?
understand.
Or was
It is
a,
done in,
I don't know, it's commercial, so it very well, do you remember if it was a quick claim? I doubt it's a warranty deed if it's a commercial property. I don't deal much with commercial, so I'm not,
Yeah, because if it was a warranty deed, well, that's pretty much insurance right there.
no,
not, sadly.
you have to, you want, it's something you want, we won't go any further.
You really do.
You
Yeah.
really want.
A warranty deed, I know what you think it means.
It warrants.
And it warrants, but we live in a world where you still need.
Okay.
In this size purchase, believe me, that was a very wise investment. I'm sorry to
Okay.
tell you, because I know 10,000 sounds like a lot. Well, because it is a lot.
Well, no,
I don't think that was really even a question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
And
just-
as long as we have
Don't
it,
mean to railroad you.
I question stuff, all right.
Okay, yeah, no, you haven't dealt with that, you won't
and then
be
the
familiar with it.
taxes, the owner. We had to go back and pay him for what he had prepaid.
Okay, so that's just a reimbursement, so we don't pay taxes.
We won't on where the sheriff's department is. We will on the rental properties.
Yeah, of course.
And that was the prepaid taxes he
Okay,
had on
that's
those
the rentals,
rentals. Mhm.
okay, all right, that's easy.
Now, we didn't have to pay transfer tax on any of it. Thank you, Mr. Post. Thank you, Androscoggin County. That, I wondered if there would be a division there, but the attorneys thought no.
Did we make your motion to pay this month, or are we still just talking
We're-
about it?
Talking about it.
Make a motion to pay the $38,550, or to allocate, excuse me, not necessarily pay it, to allocate from the ARPA funds, $38,551.21. That is what we were looking for, correct? Okay.
I'll second that. How did that happen? Problems with
Good. Well, you know, you deserve them. And we have just enough to vote. Favor? That is 4-0, and that was Commissioner Poirier that made the motion and Commissioner Poirier that seconded. And the other housekeeping, we can take it up now or wait, is the treasurer's request for overtime, especially until she can get somebody paid in that position. She can hire somebody in the position. She's got people doing the work, and she's got reports due for the ARPA funding, and is sort of in a pickle. Is anyone?
We talked about that before too, but we didn't vote. We didn't.
Asking for any more money is just kind of letting me use it for my salary. We have in there 132,000. And it's just using a portion of that from my salary so that I can pay them overtime for now.
Commissioner Mason, second. Any other questions about that? And I'm going to ask, because Mr. Post did pose several questions that I don't think that we've got answers to, that we leave the corrections maintenance position tabled. It got tabled last week. Let's leave it there until we have more answers and we have questions. And then for discussion items, you want to just jump right to future agenda items?
Receive Mr. Post's resignation. I think we need to go into executive session to talk about posting his job. Obviously, the amount of time we have left before his departure will go quickly. I would like to get started at the next meeting. I would like to suggest we review the job description and have Mr. Post attend that meeting.
We have that job description on file, or if not, I can probably, what we posted before we hired you, I can probably find it somewhere at home.
I'm not sure what you posted when you hired me. I do have the job description. I don't have it with me, but I
Okay.
do have it.
You could send that out ahead of time. Of course, back then, I was telling them we didn't know what we were asking because no one was in the position, so
Maybe
this
good,
is a
but
better
it's just-
time to
it's
look
time
at
to
it.
look at it before we hire
And that would
someone.
be a good thing for you to have some input on, too, of what you feel should and shouldn't
Job
be.
description, and I didn't find any real changes that need, but I'll get a copy of that to you all.
Well, again, we also need to talk about how we're going to market the job, how we're going to post it. Obviously, we're all very much aware of the employment situation as far as getting employees had one applicant, and they didn't show up. So I think we have a long road ahead of us.
Yeah.
And to say that we're, like, really keen, well, town feel.
We'll get that on next meeting's agenda.
Maine Municipal Association have a website listing?
Do, and whenever we're looking for any applicants, we post on there.
Okay.
Other websites as
Yeah,
well.
I think for yours, we went there. We also went to MCCA. We went to several. I'm sure you'll have some
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah.
And the other thing we'd like on the agenda is the review of the guidance that we received from our CPA firm. Would like to suggest that we consult with our attorney for clearer clarifications, especially as we move forward with the awarding of our funds.
Yes, very good. All right. Motion to adjourn. Commissioner Mason? All in favor? Four lonely commissioners left. All right, thank you very much.
Kind of lonely up here.
I know.